Hey everyone.
Hey everyone.
Hey, hi Brad. Hi Arnab. Welcome everyone to the first episode of TDSM in the season 2023 of Diversion. We have been very excited to have Brad with us here. Let me first introduce ourselves. I am the chair of ACMIM Calcutta and Arnab with us here. Arnab.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Arnav and I am the Vice Chair of ACM Chapter Calcutta. And together we are all gathered for the event Diversion 2K23. So, yeah, hi Brad. Uh, yep.
Can you go ahead
So,
and introduce yourself as well, Brad?
mhm.
Sure. My name's Brad. I'm from New Zealand originally, at the moment working in Australia. I've been in open source for many years now and started off as a software engineer. And then I went into DevOps and then started to go into management as well. So at the moment, I'm managing a DevOps team that's based in Australia and Serbia as well. And
Mm-hmm.
then also CNCF Ambassador. So spend a lot of my time working on projects such as Captain,
Mm-hmm.
Kubernetes. I'm on the Kubernetes release team as well. So yeah, you can find me around a lot of open source projects.
And these are some very big names. Let's start one by one. So what exactly is CNCF? Can you tell to our audience as well?
Yeah, so CNCF is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and
Mm-hmm.
it comprises of a lot of companies with the same goal. So what a lot of companies traditionally found is that they're all solving the same problems, and in order to power innovation, they thought, well, why not get together and let's make this open source? So
Mm-hmm.
a good example was Cluster API. So that's called CAPI for short. You have Microsoft, VMware, they're all coming together and they're working together to build a cluster API, which lets you
Mm-hmm.
deploy Kubernetes to all the different cloud providers. So they're they're still working on their own business, but they're going
Mm-hmm.
faster because they're working with the best people. So that's something I like about open source is you get to work with the best. Because when you're in a company, maybe
Uh-huh.
you're with people that all they know they've been working there the whole life. They don't really know any different, or it's lots
Basically,
more
they're just
diversity.
assigned, right? They're just assigned to a certain task, right?
Yeah,
And in
so you
open
can
source, you get
have
to meet new people as well.
and from different countries, different backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
different views. Like we can even learn lots from students as well because they have different ways of like organizing things and they're very engaging as well. So it really I really like when students come to a meetup because they're in the chat, they're talking, they're saying hello. Whereas if you go to like some of the meetings in other big companies, then no one's
Mm-hmm.
talking or anything. So they bring that really enthusiasm to it.
There's
Mhm.
So
interactivity
yeah,
between
And
everyone.
there's a perspective as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the CNCF. So a lot of the member companies will donate money to them. So
Mhm.
they will pay to be the member, and then that will get allocated through the foundation to go to projects, security of projects, diversity for conferences, KubeCon. So
Mhm.
yeah, it powers a lot of innovation, and really what open source does is it changes the world because you're with being more innovative with technology and getting everyone working together, you can do amazing things instead of trying to do it all on your own. You're never going to achieve it.
And I think it's a very good example since like CNCF is a very good example to understand how big scalable companies can also like they can work with open source technologies as well, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because
So,
you can get things working like really fast because someone's already done the work for you. So you can leverage that, and it's like composable infrastructure. So you're each open source project you're just building on top of the next one, and you can go really fast with using open source as opposed to paying for software and implementing it and trying to go back
mhm.
and do something that someone else has already done.
Well, that is a good point. Well, I wanted to ask, since big companies are using open source, doesn't it give out their secrets? Because most of the companies try to keep their like source code closed so that they just want their code to be like their own proprietary software or something like that. So doesn't it like reveal secrets to the public?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It does, but if you look at commercial parts of open source, a lot of the things are done like support, so they will support the product as well. They will do a lot of auth, so they normally put auth on top of it, and they have a bit of secret sauce. You've got to keep your secret sauce, where no one else can go. So
Yeah.
you always have to. There's a lot of strategy that goes into this as well, and the Linux Foundation has some quite. If you folks are interested in getting into that sort of side of it and learning more, there's a foundation called the To Do Group, and that's working with open source program officers, and it's coming up with these processes and the why, and it gets, they talk about the licensing, and there's so much more involved in just doing a little bit of contributions to it. So but yeah, and yeah, to answer the question, like yes, but you would get a better product the way you strategize it. So open source is very much about money. We do it to solve business problems, and you just have to strategize with that. But generally, you will be better if you keep it open and share with other people. They will actually help build your app if you do it properly as well.
All right.
All right.
So we were talking about open source. We get that it's all about money, business. That is one part, of course. But let's say if I talk about a student, right? Now they will always nowadays, I don't know, but it has been a trend of like open source contribution. People are just changing one line and they think like, and it's a good thing for the first starters. But what do you think? What is your views in it? Like as an open source contributor, as a student, like what? How should they start with?
Yeah, I think as a student, you should write down your goals and what's important to you. So a thing that I find a little strange is like students think that followers equal success, or if you get followers, that means that
Yeah.
you're a good contributor.
Followers and stars. Yeah.
Yeah, followers and stars when it's not.
Yeah.
So I think what is important to you. Like, do you want a job? Do you want your career, or do
Exactly.
you just want to play around at nighttime and do some coding because you're bored? Like, what are your goals? If they are, which I recommend, is focus on your career first. Always think of that picture, because if you do want these shiny things, like you want to go to a conference, or you can be a dev advocate or something, which is fine, but the whole world wants to be a dev advocate at the moment. So for you to stand out with everyone else, it's going to be very hard. But if you put your head down and actually learn, and you accelerate your learning, and just really study and get involved in some projects, that will lead into a job. It will lead into, like a GSOC project, an internship, a junior position. And then you, as soon as you get that internship and you finish, like, you're away, your career will accelerate, and then you will get paid to do open source. So I think it's
It's
about,
more like going toward a particular goal, not just doing it for the followers, etc. Right?
Exactly, yeah. So like, that's good, but that will come later. Like, you don't need to. That's not what success is. And remember, as I said again, this is to solve world problems. It's to solve business problems. So
Yes.
look at these tools and think, what do you like? You might like observability, you might like DevOps, you might like security. Think, like, know your passion, know what you like. Look at some projects, see how they actually solve problems, adopt them first, see how they work, see what's wrong with them, and then go and contribute to it. So if I mean, there's a saying like, a lot of small contributions make a big contribution, which is true. But if you're just doing like one line changes just to say that you did a contribution, that's also fine. But maybe you should see what the tool actually does first, and try and adopt it and understand it first, which is still contributing yourself, right? It's still contributing doing that. You don't have to just write a line of code, and then go from there. So
So,
yeah,
so means like it means using the technology first, then see
yes,
which is wrong. If there is something wrong, then you can go and you can talk about it and you can
yeah,
contribute to it.
yeah, and then you can help other people starting off. Like that's a really good way to get into community as well. So you can start learning the tool, and then you'll see other folks come in and say, "Hey, I need help," and you say, "I can help you there," and that's how you start getting maintainers, noticing you, and you'll find that the community is so strong that if a maintainer likes you and they see that you're adding value, they will really take you under their wing and they will teach you everything. They will really help you in your career in open source. And that's a good way of doing it instead of, I wouldn't say doing it the fake way, but
Like
maybe not
like
prioritizing
just to make it a bit more concise and interesting for you, for the audience, it's more like if you have seen Silicon Valley, it's like making the world a better place, right?
Yeah, but I've only watched the second season. I need to watch the rest, but I don't know where to download it from. I really like that show.
Even we are a big fan of the show. Yeah.
Me
Awesome.
too. Yeah.
Coming back to the Silicon Valley again. Silicon Valley is filled with like huge industries and everything. So, can you explain like how cloud related technologies and like such counterparts will help and is going to become a big part of people's life, even though if they are not part of the IT industry?
Yeah. So I think we're seeing, take my job, for example, as DevOps. So I normally work in fintech space, which is like banking, and I don't need to work in that because
Yeah.
my job relates to infrastructure and shipping code. So every company in the world will need to do that pretty much now. So the good thing about the software engineering and that is that you can use this for any industry. So that's going away from the question a bit, but I think every industry needs it. And as we adopt more technology, as the world changes, you can see how the last 3-4 years how fast the world changed.
Yeah.
So being in technology is a really strong place to be in because yeah, even remote working, for example, like you can get a job like anywhere in the world now if you do your things right. So I think, yeah, it's interesting to see all industries really need this type of work.
Right.
This absolutely makes sense. This absolutely makes sense. Like now, like you said, you are into DevOps and you are handling mostly into the infrastructure part as well as shipping code. Now, when it comes to infrastructure, now people thinks about nowadays techies will think about Terraform, tools like Terraform, GitOps. Can you tell something about since our audience is mostly comprises of students? Can you give a basic overview of what is Terraform and what is GitOps?
Yeah, so
Basically, the tools which will help them go forward with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so if I take one step back, we can talk about cloud for a little bit because if you have all these tools, you need somewhere to deploy it to. So that the first thing would be cloud. And if you're looking for a job, one thing I recommend is that look at all of the LinkedIn or all the jobs that are in your area. See, okay, is it AWS? Is it Azure? Is it GCP? And then you can, if you get, let's say predominantly AWS in the region, then you can maybe go for an AWS cert. And you can start learning the cloud there because that will stand you out from other candidates getting a job. It will really help you.
Yes.
So what is Terraform? Well, if you learn Terraform, it's a common language that you can deploy infrastructure to all clouds. So for me, that is a really good one to learn because all of a sudden you have the skills to be able to deploy to any cloud using the same language. I mean, it's a little bit different, but you can just copy and paste it as you understand it. So, Terraform is very strong on your CV. And then coming to GitOps, well, GitOps is quite advanced. So I would say, to learn GitOps, you need to learn Kubernetes. To learn Kubernetes, you need to learn Docker. To learn Docker, you need to learn Linux. So
Yes. It's a
so
whole.
It's like a
GitOps,
chain.
Yeah, so I wouldn't focus like GitOps is great. I love it. I do. I've been doing GitOps for a long time now, but you can't just go pick up and say I want to learn GitOps. That's the end
Yeah,
goal. You know, you
exactly.
setting yourself small milestones and achieving them is the way to success as well. Because if you say tomorrow you wake up, you say, okay, I want to do the GitOps, or actually
It's not
you have
possible.
to do all these small milestones. So set your small
Exactly.
milestones, and then you will reach the GitOps at the end. Because remember, a lot of companies haven't adopted GitOps yet. So as a hiring manager, I hire people. I would rather hire someone that knows like Bash or Linux or Kubernetes, because I can always teach them GitOps. But to teach them the fundamentals, that takes many years. So I think we've got to watch our buzzwords here and think about what is the base layers, what are the foundations that we can learn, and everything will come after that.
So basically, keeping the base strong, we can go forward anywhere and in
Yes,
any direction that we want to, right?
exactly.
Exactly.
Because if you try to go too advanced, too niche, like to an area that,
Exactly.
maybe 3% of companies are hiring, they're going to look at your experience and say, well, actually, you don't have this experience. I'm going to go with this person. Or I'm going to teach this person that does, something with the fundamentals, because I know
Mhm.
that they'll be easier. So it's about not getting into these buzzwords and really focusing on the key fundamentals. So for
Mhm.
Kubernetes, you need infrastructure to deploy that to start with. You need a cloud or a server.
Mhm.
So first of all, get your infrastructure, your cloud going.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how are you going to deploy that cluster, and sort of just go from the start and work your way up. You can't go wrong that way, and it will build you a strong roadmap into a whatever your outcome wants to be,
Whatever we are
whether it's a
paving into,
job.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I normally,
you talked about yeah as well, Kubernetes and a lot of tools as well. You're wearing a captain hat. Can you tell us more about captain as well?
yeah. So Captain is it's been built by Dynatrace and they open sourced it. So this is going back to your question about the proprietary stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm a maintainer of Captain, and we're doing GSOC project soon as well, by the way. If anyone's interested, you can go to the Captain community. And
Mhm.
Sure, sure.
Captain,
We'll tag it in the description.
sure. And
Sure.
Captain is a project that focuses on it focuses on quite a lot of things, but it's an interesting one because you can bring your own tools to it. So you can do things like quality gates. So when you're deploying something from like if you use progressive delivery, so you go from dev, staging, prod, it can show you if your code is right, and it will let you pass to the next step. You can do remediation tasks as well. So if something goes wrong,
Mhm.
you can trigger like a workbook.
Mhm.
At the moment, we're working on the lifecycle toolkit as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be working with GitOps tools as well to see if the infrastructure is good before you deploy and after you deploy as well. So it's going over the life cycle of environments.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
quite hard to understand at the start.
Yeah. Like it will go dev, then staging, then production. So it's like a
Yeah,
whole life cycle. Correct.
yeah, life cycle
Well,
controller. Yeah,
Mhm.
well, as we are talking about life cycles, so you being a DevOps guy, so like, what is the life cycle of any code that is being written in a huge company? For let's say we're not taking any names, but just in case you're saying, let's say a company like Hulu, saw it was huge. So in a company like that, like code base seems to be very very huge, right? So
yeah,
how like what is the life cycle and how is that kind of code maintained and everything? Like, can you throw some light on that as well?
yeah. So
Mhm.
the reality of most companies and
Mm-hmm.
big companies as well is that nobody really knows because you have code everywhere. You have the thing in business with these companies is going fast is time to market. So you want to be going fast to market, even if your code is not that
Uh-huh.
good, because you
Mm-hmm.
want to get there before your competitor gets there. So a company like that, they would have different types of code everywhere. They would have different languages. They would have different pipeline tools.
Yep.
They might go buy another company because they have this capability, and then they use something different. So the reality is that it's crazy. Like, it's all over the show. So the perfect company is not true, because they wouldn't exist. They wouldn't have,
They won't survive.
they wouldn't survive. They wouldn't have made their money. So a real company from a startup, scale up, enterprise, they're working hard to like standardize on processes and keep it simple. But you will find that, they might have a Jenkins server here. They might use like Bitbucket pipelines here. They might even use like GitLab, and they all struggle to come together. So the reality is they have repos everywhere. They don't know where everything is. And this brings up an interesting project that we're working on called Backstage. So
Exactly.
Okay.
that was built by Spotify
Spotify.
to see all these things. So to see where all of your code is, to see where it's deployed, who owns it, is it legacy, is it working, who can I talk to, how can I make a template to make this standardized, so we know it's going to be like the other code. So that's another really cool project that we're starting to work with as well. So yeah, Backstage is very hot. It's built in React. You can add lots of plugins. So if you're more of a front-end developer, I recommend that one as well. So it depends what sort of your passion is too. You might want to do JavaScript, React. You might want to do Golang. You might want to do Rust. They're some of like the good languages to go with at the moment.
Yeah.
Can you throw some light on more languages as well? Because nowadays most of the people are like fancied with these new languages that are coming up, like Go and then Carbon, etc., etc. So like there was like, since I was working in a few internships, and I saw that people there still used code like languages like Perl and Scala, etc. So like, does it matter what language are you using, or like how's the scene in the real world?
Yeah, in my opinion, it doesn't, because if you're a developer, you're a developer. You can, if you can learn to code in one language, you can pretty easily switch to another one. So I think having a good programming base in general is fine. You don't have to chase, I have to learn Golang to be, this good engineer, because it goes back to sort of reading the job adverts as well. Like, maybe a lot of companies aren't ready for Golang. They don't back it yet. So learning like Java or C#, maybe there's lots of companies that learn that, for example. But it depends if you want to sort of back yourself and just go all in on Golang, which I would recommend, because we're going to see a lot of other companies, adopting it. And Rust is another really good one as well, because if you can, there's different ways to look at it. But I think if you learn any language, you're never going to go wrong. But
so basically keeping your logics clear, right?
Yeah, because back to enterprise, they're still using Java and C#, and they're going to take many years to come off that, if they even do, because they've got a good business at the moment, so they're making lots of money. Do they really need to bring that risk into changing? So that's another way. If you're looking for a job, you could target one of those bigger companies to get started, and then go into a small one where they do Golang or something else. So I think in general, it doesn't really matter as long as you do something and you get your programming done right. You get your, if you're doing like test-driven development, you get really good at testing and writing quality code. That's all that really matters. And people will really like that understand those principles like domain-driven design, test-driven development. There's a lot of those that agile methodology. If you know agile, so a lot of it comes back to those foundations too. So if you have your foundation of the programming in general, you're never going to go wrong. So you don't need to choose the language as such.
Yeah, that was really a great answer for about basically clearing out the confusion between choosing languages and other stuff. Now, like since we were talking previously about CNCF, now you have been working as being a CNCF ambassador for so long. So,
Mhm.
what experience did you gain as a CNCF ambassador, and what have you gained by mentoring so many students in the tech industry? Yeah.
Yeah. So what have I gained? Like I've been able to do a lot of networking with other ambassadors. So I've met,
Mhm.
some of these people are very, very impressive people. They're
Mhm.
changing technology.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I've had the good opportunity to meet all of those people and mentoring people as well. Particularly students.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's given me a bit of a formula as well. So now that I've done it for quite a while, I can really help empower people, and I get stuff out of it too because it's not just me that teaches students. Like students are always fresh of ideas. They're fresh with the way of thinking. It's a different generation as well. So that diversity helps
Mhm.
me to learn new things as well. So I would learn as much off them as they learn off me. They wouldn't think
Yeah.
that, but and it teaches me how to. I like teaching people, so every time I do that, I can then teach at scale, um, and then I can bring that into my company too. So when we want to upskill people, because if you think about DevOps engineers, they're one of the probably
Mhm.
highest paid people in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's not sustainable to. I can't go pay even 4 people will cost $1 million for a year. I can't pay that. So if I get really good at teaching people and training juniors, that's
Mhm.
sustainable cloud, and that will help the DevOps capability go faster. So for me personally, it's a big investment for the companies I work for, but also the ecosystem. So I want to also see the CNCF projects growing, and I want to see people growing with it. So mentoring for me is investing back into the ecosystem and the companies as well. So it's good for everyone because students are the future.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
anyone listening, just back yourself. I think one of my best advice is, just don't be shy to say hello in these communities as well. You can go in and just, hey, you don't have to write a big story or your bio and tell them your neighbor's name and their cat's name, but you can tell them, like, this is my name. I'm interested in learning this. This is one of my hobbies, for example.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing that you could do. And you'll find that people, the community is very strong, and they will help you and just be your humble self. And that's a really good way to get going with it.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's come back towards the AI world, because nowadays AI is taking over the entire world. So have you worked with AI?
I've worked with AI in some regard by leveraging the cloud. So
Hmm.
in the cloud, you have things like AWS SageMaker.
SageMaker.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other tools. A lot of the cloud tools are open source tools under the covers as well. So
Hmm.
um, my my working with AI is in the ML ops. The CD Foundation has a working group. It's called Special Interest Group ML Ops. That was launched 2 years ago. So the CD Foundation is also another good place to go to get involved with these things. So if you're interested in AI and ML ops, they have a whole working group that you can be friends with there as well, and they will help you on your journey also. So my experience is deploying infrastructure, helping. I've done just simple k-means algorithms, and I'm not fancy at AI. I focus more on infra, but
Hmm.
the technology that the cloud is providing these days makes it so
Hmm.
easy to do that. You don't need to, like, I have this book on these are my books, Python machine learning. I read one page
Okay.
and then stopped. It's like statistics and mathematics, and I was like, I don't
Exactly.
know what this means. I haven't read
Yeah.
it. This is like,
Yeah.
who
in,
wants
in
it?
our in our student culture also, most of the people are fascinated with AI, but they don't want to learn about the mathematics which actually goes behind that
The
entire AI.
statistics which go behind the
Yeah,
data
they,
analysis
they
Yeah,
just
part.
want to make it to look cool that they have built an AI and they have built something which is
yeah, and I think
something
you
which is
can. Yeah, I don't think you need to. obviously there's a certain percentage of people that need to do that to make these tools, but
Mm-hmm.
these days, if it comes back to solving what problem you're trying to solve as well. So if the AI is to solve a problem, what is the fastest outcome you can do to solve that problem? What is the cheapest way? If it's using something like SageMaker to drop an algorithm in, or even predefined algorithms, so they have hundreds of ones that you can
Predefine
choose from,
APIs. Mm-hmm.
then you've achieved your goal. And that is value. It's all about value. You don't have to,
like go over and do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
like
just one
nowadays
more
there is,
question.
yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Arnab.
No, I was just saying that like now there are so many predefined APIs like by Google, by
Yeah,
AWS, SageMaker. So like people generally like tend to use like companies like they generally tend to use those APIs,
those
built-in
rather
APIs.
than building there from scratch, right?
Scratch, exactly.
Yeah.
yeah. And remember, all of those tools, they're powered by open source. So
Mhm.
that's probably a open source project under the covers. They just named it differently because that's
Mhm.
the benefit that the clouds have of contributing. They can
Mhm.
put their name on it and then sell it to other people for that reason. That's the secret sauce there too. They can make it easy for people to solve your business problem.
Yeah.
Well, just one more question is, let's say uh, DevOps is like depending upon what kind of code and what kind of infrastructure do the person needs, and what kind of like the entire thing that the organization needs depends on different people and different organizations, right? So, and we didn't expect OpenAI to go and write huge amount of code like presently it is doing. So, like, can we expect in coming future that DevOps can also be a part where AI can get into and like start hosting codes on its own? Like, let's say you write a piece of code and the AI hosts it. Like, do you see a future where this is possible?
Possibly a hybrid, but if you think of what DevOps is, it's
Mhm.
people, process, and technology. So the thing that you're talking about is the technology. That's only 1/3 of what DevOps is. So
Mhm.
um, I mean, they have GitHub Autopilot.
Mhm.
GitHub Autopilot might be able to fix your code, but it doesn't. It goes back to that business problem. When you have a successful business, you're solving a problem that no one else has solved before. That
Mhm.
those bots and AI can't do that. So um, somewhat it might help. It might accelerate DevOps, but it's never going to
Mhm.
take it away because the
Okay.
process is very important. It's much more to DevOps than just writing code or deploying code.
Mhm.
It's a different way of working, of thinking, of collaborating, uh,
Mhm.
breaking down silos. So it will help DevOps, not overcome it or overtake it.
Okay.
All right.
Um. So, tell me some of the misconceptions or some of the like myths about the DevOps that you have heard and would like to clarify about. Something that you have faced in
Um,
real life.
yeah, I think a lot of companies still don't know how to implement DevOps. So, the whole idea is that traditionally there used to be developers working here. Over this side of
Mhm.
the office, this is operations. And then the
There is a
developers
development.
would throw things over to the operations. They would
Mhm.
deploy it or fix it or see if it's running. And then the idea of DevOps is to um, break down this wall of confusion and work together to to deploy code faster, safer, and if you look at going back to Spotify again, they have a lot of good articles and things on this where they have different like team topologies as well. So
Mhm.
you can see there could be one DevOps engineer in each dev team, and
Mhm.
it's about so it's not about just having this DevOps team that magically does everything, but it's getting people coming together and working together so it's streamlined and the process is going round and round, like that DevOps loop thing. I think on the t-shirt
Yeah.
you can see it's going like
Yeah. This
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yep.
So like there's a lot of talk on platform engineering as well. That's been around for a while, but that's not going to replace DevOps because you still need DevOps again. So there's a lot of myths, but I think reading a lot of books is quite good for this stuff as well. So here's some good ones I have here. So if you this Agile Conversations, Agile is very a big part of DevOps. You have team topologies, what I was briefly talking about then. There's what else? We have lots of books there, but the Phoenix project and the Unicorn project is good. This one is my favorite book here called Accelerate. So I think you can get a lot of good information from reading these type of DevOps books, and because again, it's not just code.
It's more than that.
That will help you understand it as well. So you can get these books online for free sometimes if you're lucky as well. So you don't have to go. Sometimes they can be expensive in different countries to ship them, but there's a lot of great books out there that can help you understand what DevOps actually is. Like people like John Willis, like this book here is really good. It's called the Phoenix Project. So this is all the stuff that we're talking about at the moment. It talks about, it's like a fiction type book where it will talk about all the things that are wrong with the company and how DevOps solves it. So I really recommend that one as well.
That is really great, really great.
Yeah.
So, that was all our series of questions that we had. But before we end, just one thing we want to ask, like, what advice would you like to give us, like to the audience who will be seeing this? Okay. So, and what message you want to say, give us at the
To
end
the
of
students,
to the
to the
students.
audience, everyone.
Yeah, I think just don't worry too much about the hype. Like we said, focus on the hard work. The best thing that you want to learn is how to solve a problem. So every single day I have a problem. Sometimes I'm on problems for 2 weeks until I work it out, but don't give up on solving those problems. Learn how you learn by failing. So don't be afraid to fail. Failing will teach you the right way, and fail until you get to a point. Like now I feel like you could give me any single problem and I can solve it because I'm so used to failing, so I just think stay away from all the buzzwords and everything, and learn your foundations, learn your fundamentals, and everything else will come from that.
That's really a great advice. That was really great
Also,
advice.
just one fun question. Do you game? Like, do you play games?
I don't actually. I like to make them.
But that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
That's a good answer.
Yeah,
It's a
but
really
I
great
used
answer.
to.
Well,
I used to when I was younger, but this is like PS1, PS2, Tony Hawk. Yeah, I used to like the old games, but I got so busy. Yeah, one of my passions is learning programming, so I have lots of hobbies like surfing, and so it's hard to get gaming in. But I plan to take it up with my daughter when she's a little bit older.
All right.
great. Well, we'll be planning to have a live game building session as well. So let's hope we see you there as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah.
Cool. So thank you so much, Brad, for giving us the time and like being patient with our questions. I know these are repetitive, and a lot of people have asked you the same questions, but we want our audience to know a bit more about this tech industry and how to survive in this as well. So thank you for everything. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
Thanks,
It was a very good conversation. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. See you in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.